How many co-founders were there in Microsoft?
Two.
Who?
Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates,
Okay,
obviously.
now you ask me.
Uber.
One. Travis Kelly.
Yes, but he found another one.
Guys, what's up? This is Vaibhav.
Hi, this is Akshay.
And today we will be discussing about how many co-founders are good enough for a startup and what should be the team composition. So, guys, this question is often faced by people when they are just about to start their journey. That are three co-founders good enough, or four, five, six? How many of them should be generalists? How many of them should be in sales? How many of them should be in tech? So, this kind of questions is posed to all the people who are starting their own venture, and that's the same question that we faced. So, there is no standard answer to this question, but there are certain guidelines that are followed across the world by many entrepreneurs.
I think the most famous one of them is the hacker, hound, and the hustler model, right? Where you have these three co-founders, one who's specialized in getting the tech build all together, one who's actually hustling around selling the products and everything, and one is a hound who's searching and finding out investors and ensuring that the startup is actually floating ahead, right? So I think that was a base model that people actually follow.
Yeah.
But do you actually need just that model?
But there is one more edge.
Yeah, there's one more edge. Yeah, what is that?
Hipster.
Hipster. So what does a hipster do?
Hipster, I think hipster is a guy who kind of comes out with some really cool ideas, a kind of creative guy. So, for an example, I would say Steve Jobs can be considered a hipster who had a lot of ideas.
Is it already a hustler?
I'm not sure if so much of hustling was involved at that point. It was more about idea and building the product, and Steve Wozniak.
So
was
hustling
the
to
hacker.
get Steve Wozniak, hustling to get a very hardware guy, and building a PC which would cool itself
Yeah.
was the hustling,
Yeah.
and ensuring that they get funded at that point of time, that too
Right.
by Sequoia and by Intel, was I think all that hustling that he did, right?
Yeah, so,
So-
maybe it's more of an overlap of roles. Nobody's really perfectly.
I think it is like the fifth P, when you say about marketing, right? You knew four P's, but now the fifth P is also coming. What should be the right way to go about it, Vaibhav?
So I would say finding
And
the
what
right
was your
way.
journey?
Yeah. So finding the right way kind of starts with avoiding the wrong ways. I think that's a good way. कि क्या करना है ये जानने से पहले ये पता करें कि क्या नहीं करना है. So the one thing is not one thumb rule is not to have too many generalists. Might lead to a conflict. Generalist is a guy basically, any non-tech guy you can say a generalist. For example, somebody who can handle sales, marketing, finance, and base operations. So that's what we can call as generalist. Not avoid too many generalists. Two generalists is a good enough number. If you're operations heavy, one generalist if you're not operations heavy is a pretty good number. That's one thumb rule which we can follow while doing this. Having one tech person is obviously good and mandatory. If you are not very tech intensive, still you should have one tech guy just to take care of your app, website. If you're tech intensive, then definitely your numbers will increase accordingly. The third thumb rule is good to have odd number of founders. Three seems to be a very good number, because if there is a blockage, if there is a difference of opinion, somebody can come in and break that lock. So that also is another thumb rule which we can follow.
I agree.
So there is no perfect answer, but I'll still say for me 3 is the good answer, which I feel is a very good answer. By the way, we are not 3 co-founders,
Yeah.
but we wanted to find someone. We wanted to find a third co-founder, but we couldn't.
Yeah, and also amongst us, like our journey started off by talking to a lot of folks, and we started off with a WhatsApp group with an interest saying that we want to get into this space. A lot of people came in. There will be a lot of people. Actually, you need to be ready as a co-founder or a founding member. That a lot of people will join your startup and just get worn out of the fact that you need to do so much of work, but they're not mentally prepared. It is more like if you the consulting experience, then you need to give in so much amount of time, and people really don't understand what goes on to build a startup. There is a lot of sacrifices that you need to do, and a lot of people are not mentally prepared. And that's when you actually realize that who's going to stick with you, and who's going to be the person who will take that leap of faith, quit his job and come and do work with you on a full-time basis. So it becomes very important for you to not just stick to two people and ensure that the other person really runs away. So always have backup. That is why again the number three becomes easy, because even if one drops out, you have two at least doing the job. Single co-founder is also something that you can do, but becomes very mentally heavy on that individual startup founder. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on the individual startup founder?
There are many people who have done things individually, who have secured very good results. Jeff Bezos was an individual founder, co-founder, so there are people, but it's very demanding, especially the things of the things which are on sideways, the finance, accounts, legal, getting registration, GST filing, all those stuff. It just grows and grows and becomes very heavy. So I would say, yep.
Akshay is a solo founder. What are your, and he's done wonderful. Not even a tech guy.
Okay.
Grad philosophy graduate. But some people just have that skills and know how to do those things. But yes, there in India actually came up with a concept called as OPC, one person company, specifically for individual founders who wanted to open private limited companies, because there is a norm for you to have at least two partners when you're starting out. So again, good to remember that at least you need two people to start your
For a
business.
private limited company,
Yeah.
you will need-
But you can nowadays do an OPC, which is one person company, and they do allow you to do that. Can you actually start the company if you are not a codie or a coder?
I think, yep. So I think we also had done a video previous to that can you build an MVP without a tech person? So the answer to that was yes. So in the initial stages, you can build your products, because right now there are too many tools outside to build your products. Also, many people go for agencies, third-party agencies, to build their product. So the answer is yes. You really don't need a technical person, but if you are into deep technology, if you're doing something really new, novel, and which goes deep into technical expertise, then obviously you need to find people.
Absolutely.
And I would say it is not mandatory, but keep on searching. You will find good people. We found good people on the way who have joined our journey, who have helped us even when we did not have much funds, and they're still part of our journey. So keep looking for people sideways, but you can start anyways.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to touch upon the fact that you will get a lot of co-founder kind of people who will start believing you as your journey becomes more successful. And we have also had these opportunities where we have got people who have been now got interested in joining our team. And those are very good golden opportunities for you as a founder, because you do need people who are trustworthy so that you can build your core team. We will definitely talk about how to build a core team in the videos that will come forward, but that's for another session. Just one quick advice is that even though you have two generalists who are forming startups, maybe both of us, but we were very clear from day one that there are certain areas that I would never touch upon, which Vaibhav will be only working on, and which he would not touch upon, which I would just focus on. Right? For example, like if you can tell,
Yeah.
marketing and building the software-based product was always his thing, and raising funds and ensuring that the hardware tech is being built was always my thing. So we never really overlapped, and that was a very smooth journey. that helped us actually scale up and bring out a lot of products for you very quickly. And I think that is very important to keep note as a founder who's planning to get another co-founder.
Also, in spite of initial division of work, it kind of evolves gradually. Some people show interest in certain parts, some people show in certain parts, and some parts are actually nobody shows interest in. Then we just divide. Okay, this is your part, this is my part. However, it's not really rigid. It's more of a fluid because it depends on the bandwidth. People have sometimes he doesn't have bandwidth, so I take care of it. Sometimes I don't have bandwidth, so he jumps into picture.
So there is a theory, a concept saying that there are two types of birds, one which fly very high and one which fly on the lower side, and they both develop different muscles, and that allows them to actually do that, right? And so the same thing kind of flows between us, where one of us think of the overall strategy view, whereas the other one looks at the operational
day-to-day details, getting into details, day-to-day activities. So one has a bird eye view of 3 months to 6 months, whereas one has a bird eye view of, let's say, 1 week to 15 days. So that's what the level the two generalists can work at. That's a good way to look at it. Apart from this, let's have few examples of companies and let's discuss how many co-founders they had, and also it will be a good test of our knowledge. So, okay, so let us have a quiz. How many co-founders were there in Microsoft?
Two.
Who?
Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates, obviously.
How you was saying?
Uber.
One. Travis Kelly.
Yes, but he found another one. Definitely. And you know how he found his CTO? He put a tweet saying that I'm building this. Is anybody interested to join me? And that's how he got his co-founder.
Okay. So now mine. How many co-founders were there in Airbnb?
Three.
I actually don't know the answer. I can't really cross it.
Yes, there were three, and I think they were all three generalists, but then they were all living in the same apartment, so the roommates became co-founders.
Okay.
That's the story.
How many co-founders there were in Swiggy?
Two.
Okay.
So Swiggy actually started off. Swiggy has three co-founders. It started off earlier as Bundle. And Sri Harsha and his friend actually started a bundle where they said that they'll do last mile delivery because that was going to be very big. And then once that really didn't kick in well, they realized that delivering food specifically was going to be even more bigger. And that's when the third co-founder came in, and now there are three co-founders.
All right.
And Swiggy. Okay. How about Ola?
Two. Bhavish Agarwal and the CTO.
Right. Is this a good strategy actually, Bhavish? We wanted to ask you that the other co-founder doesn't really come ahead at all, in the public, and stays hidden and does his work and gets things done. So how does that work? And would love to know from you, Bhavish.
Yeah, and best of luck for your Ola launch. So,
I
think by the time this video will come out, Ola scooter would have already been launched. So yeah. Okay, you tell me how many co-founders were there in Oyo?
One.
Are you sure?
Yes, there's only a single founder, Ritesh.
Okay guys, so this was a general knowledge test on co-founders. Also, if you want to find a co-founder, the best way is just put out a job requirement on LinkedIn saying you want a co-founder for this job and open to equity position and both paid and unpaid positions. Also guys, your friend may not be the best co-founder because friendship and working together are very two different things. In case you're going ahead with your college friends, the best way to evaluate is if you guys have worked on certain college projects. That's a pretty good way to evaluate whether you guys can work
something together ever, right?
So that's if you guys have worked on certain project previous to your this particular initiative, that's a very good way to be assured that this partnership can survive. So in our case, before we started Kazam, we had worked on a small project on building a social media mobile application. So we knew our style. Still took time to get adjusted to each other's style, but yeah, at least you have an indicator whether you can work together or not. So college students, it's a pretty good way to evaluate who is who's the right co-founder. In college projects, there are guys who kind of lead the project, even if it's not that important. But then there are students who really do not contribute much to the project. They come in the end, stand in front of the professor. So that's a good enough way to evaluate how the person will do in other projects, because it's good to have a little bit complementary behavioral nature as well. For example, you have two co-founders. One is on the introvert side and one is on extrovert side. It's a good enough. It's a good balance. Both are introverts, might be problem. If both are extroverts, then still might be problem. One is more creative side and one is on the analytical side. That is also a pretty good composition. So behaviorally also, if the natures are complementing each other, it's a good sign.
Absolutely. So, in short, what we have to say is more than I think this model, a standard model. What is also needed is the the professionalism and also the collaborativeness amongst the founders, right? There can be a startup with 7 or 8 founders, and we know some of them which raised a lot of money. An IIT Bombay based startup which did a lot of ruckus in the real estate space. I don't want to name them.
Housing.com. Housing.com.
Correct. And they're the most mischievous and the most famous startup founders who ended up building a lot more startups going forward. But yeah, was it a wrong number? No, definitely not. Did everybody code? No. Most of them were hustlers because all of them were part of the tech fairs and also of the normal fairs that they have, and they all had a very good bonding, and that was more important for the startup to actually get going, turn the wheels around and ensure that the business machine has just started. So the answer is not perfect like for anything else. You could be just two tech guys and thinking of doing your own venture. What is WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Right. So WhatsApp is nothing but two guys thought that we know to do coding and we want a very clean app where there are no advertisements, nothing, and people can actually enjoy sending SMSs but over the internet. So it was just a simple product, and look at its reach, look at the valuation at which it got sold at. And they really didn't even need fund because it was a hobby project back then.
Okay guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining in. Do subscribe to the channel if you want to stay updated about the startup ecosystem and electric vehicle industry.
And also do share in the comment section that what is the next topic that you actually want to hear about, and we'll be more than happy to make a video explaining how things will work on that end.